David Grosso from Bold TV here to tell you why everything seems so expensive. Are we reliving the 1970s? No, I don't mean peace signs, disco, and bell-bottoms like my mom wore. We're talking about the economy. We all know the pandemic changed everything, but let's talk money. In the past year, this may sound boring, but it's important, the Federal Reserve decided to print a lot of money. So they increased the supply of dollars in the United States. And at the same time, the government went on a spending spree of epic proportions. Remember, they sent us all money. And these policies are starting to cause inflation or rising prices. And if you ask your parents, inflation was a huge problem in the 1970s. Today, we're seeing the value of a dollar take a nosedive, and things are becoming more expensive. And just like back in the 70s, our current situation is a bit unique for a simple explanation. But let's just generalize here. Many economists are worried that the US is going to repeat the same history of stagflation. Sounds like a fancy word, but it's pretty easy. Stagflation is when prices go up, but the economy doesn't exactly boom. It in fact stagnates. And until the 1970s, no one ever thought that was possible. So right now, to prevent the economic pain that we would have had during the pandemic, the government and the Federal Reserve printed a lot of money. But now they're facing calls to say, hey, the economy's better, slow your roll, and slow down the printing press. But the issue with scaling back is that we risk a crisis that is hard to control, which is another fancy term, deflation, or falling prices. And that might sound great, but it's actually really damaging to the economy. And it happened during the Great Recession, and it was extremely painful. So the government and the Federal Reserve are trying to prevent us from going through that pain. But are they making the right moves? A lot of people are skeptical because they're worried that these policies have long-term consequences and can cause a lot of economic pain for all of us. And we all know this. Economics is a lot of theory. It's not an exact science. And all of us are living through a gigantic economic experiment. And no one knows what comes next. And you might think this is partisan, but it isn't. In fact, a very liberal economist, or, a somewhat establishment economist, Larry Summers, who served in both Clinton and Obama's administration, has said he has his doubts about what we're doing right now. He called right now what we're living through is the least responsible macroeconomic policy we've had for the last 40 years. And of course, he's referring to government spending, loose monetary policy, and an exploding amount of federal debt. Major political problems that could have consequences in Washington. And if we're not careful, we could face a perfect inflationary storm, and that wouldn't be good. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong. We don't know yet. Maybe printing money and causing inflation is the only way out of this pandemic-fueled mess. But we're learning really fast that we don't know what we're doing. Whether you're a millennial, a Gen Zer, or even older than us, most of us don't remember the last time we had inflation or weren't even around. Half of the US population was born after 1980. So people like me, we've never seen it. But we might be in for a ride for the next few years. Hopefully not, but we might be. So the next time you're wondering why your burrito, flight, apartment, or doctor's appointment is getting so expensive, you know what it is. It's inflation.